What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Too Good for Theaters video. Today we're going to be breaking down the Patriots' second fourth round selection, that being Joshua Farmer from Florida State, the 137th overall pick, so let's get right into it. So before I break down the selection, I also wanted to mention the trade. The New England Patriots traded the 144th overall pick and the 238th overall pick to move up 7 slots with Seattle for the 137th overall pick. And with the 137th overall pick, they went ahead and they drafted Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle out of Florida State. And where I really see the upside with Farmer is strictly as an interior pass rusher. I think that he has the potential to be a better run defender than he is, considering his size. However, I think the reason why he got drafted where he did was his inability to really be a featured player in the run game despite his size. However, he is a very good interior pass rusher, so there was always going to be a spot for him in this draft. And honestly, I'm surprised that he kind of fell as long as he did, alongside Deontay Walker from Buffalo. And by the way, I'm extremely upset that the Buffalo Bills got Deontay Walker as well. He was probably my favorite interior defensive tackle prospect in this draft. But the positive with Farmer here is he is someone who can get pressure on the quarterback. In his senior year alone at Florida State, he got 26 pressures from the interior on quarterbacks here, and he finished with 6 sacks. But he is really more so just one of those defensive tackles on the interior who's not going to be moving along the line very much. He only took 47 snaps from a defensive end position compared to 435 defensive tackle snaps in 30 nose tackle snaps. So this is a guy who has a classic bull rusher mentality from the interior of the defensive line here. And that's really where he got the majority of his sacks from, using his length, his arm size, his explosiveness off the line to really just wreak havoc, and all that strength that he really builds up in his lower body just absolutely dominates some of the interior offensive linemen in a rather good conference, that being the ACC, of course. And even though Florida State really had a shit year, it was not because of Joshua Farmer's play whatsoever. And apparently he was one of those guys who was really holding down the locker room even through the struggles. But going back to his play, really, this is strictly a guy who's going to be on the interior, and it's particularly noted by some of these scouts here. He really doesn't have the quickness to play on the edge, and he really did struggle against some of the out wide motions that some of the offenses would use. So this is a guy who you're strictly going to see on the interior. Very similar to a guy like Adam Butler, if you remember, on the Patriots a couple years ago during that dynasty run. I expect him to have a little bit more usage than Adam Butler. Maybe, hopefully, he'll develop in the run support game so he can get some more playing time and see the field more. But I think at worst, he's probably going to be like an Adam Butler type pass rusher on the interior of this defensive line. Very similar to Daniel Quale of recent years. So we're going to see if Joshua Farmer is able to kind of carve himself out a pass rusher role along the interior of this offensive line. And if you get that production from him alongside Milton Williams and hopefully a healthy Christian Barmore returning, that's a pretty good three-headed monster that you can get interior pressure on. But taking a look at Joshua's 2024 grades here, he played in 12 games. He had a defensive grade of 63.5, a run defense grade of 61, a tackling grade of 58.6, and a pass rush grade of 71.4. He had 16 tackles on the season for around a missed tackle rate of 15%. You'd like to see that drop a little bit. Like I said before, he had 26 pressures, 17 hurries, 3 QB hits, and 6 sacks. So someone who really did get a ton of pressure on the interior of offensive lines there. And that's really going to be his job here with the Patriots. Of course, you'd like for him to develop into a better run defender, but his role on this defense, at least starting out, is not going to allow an alley for quarterbacks to step up into the pocket. With wrapping up his statistics here, I also wanted to go over some of his combine numbers here. He had a 5.11 40-yard dash time. He had a 1.77 10-yard dash time. And he actually, I believe he led all interior defensive linemen and maybe even defensive linemen in general in terms of bench reps with 26. So you can see he really does use his strength to his advantage, and he probably is one of the strongest pass rushers in this entirety of this class, if not the strongest player in the entirety of this class here. So that's a very encouraging sign when you get someone that big and that strong in the middle of the field. He certainly has a ton of potential, and I'm excited to see how the Patriots kind of unlock that potential. And hopefully, like I said before, he's going to create that three-headed monster alongside Christian Barmore as well as Milton Williams. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap up this video about Joshua Farmer here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on whether or not you think he's going to be able to expand his role this season. And hopefully I'll check you all out in the next one.